Hi everyone, and welcome to the Brim Fishing Project. And this is one of my favorites. We're off to the Georges River. We're jumping in the Hobies to review the Hobie kayak fishing round 5 on the Georges River, June 14 and 15. This one was, I think, the first one that's come to you as a round sponsor of Anaconda. How good is that? All right, let's roll the intros. There's a heap to get through. I can't wait. Here we go.
Welcome to the Brim Fishing Project. This is where you need to be every Tuesday to find out all the latest tips and tricks to help you target brim on lures. You'll get to hear from some of Australia's elite brim competition anglers and see how they were able to achieve their results in competitions around the country. Now, here is your host, the 2019 Hobie Kayak Fishing World Champion, Andrew Deeth.
All right, so this was another great round. Good to see Mitchell Taylor on top. He rather new to the competition scene, obviously not a new angler, but to come and take a win is, I think, pretty impressive. Jason Marshall, always with a great story. Like, if you haven't heard any of the previous ones, what he did to get his second result is pretty awesome. And then Mohamed Farage, or Mick, coming in third place, equally a relatively new angler on the scene. So how good is that? But there's a heap to get through with this one. So what I might do is run through the bite periods and what have you, and then we'll get into all the details about the divisions and what have you. Then into angler interviews. How good's that? All right. So on the Saturday, we had 68 in the fish activity wheel. I tell you what, just as I was thinking of it, was so cold that first day. So anyway, just got sidetracked. The minor bite period was at 8:41 through to 10:11. Major bite period at 1:07 through to 3:37. Low tide was at 4:41 at 0.21. High tide at 10:37 at 1.02. On the Sunday, we had 55 with a minor bite period at 9:21 through to 10:21 a.m. Low tide was at 5:26 a.m. at 0.19 and high tide at 11:28 at 1.03. Couple of things with this round. This was a round where the Brim Fishing Project Collective, they sponsored the barbecue. So those guys, as part of their membership fees, put on the barbecue where we had enhanced sausage sandwiches, one of my favorite things. And Jamie and Andy brought their little family along and they cooked barbecues for everyone for both days, which I think was pretty exceptional. So thanks again to those guys. All right. And we did open people's eyes. Who thought you could put CCs on a chip sandwich? Well, I did. Anyway. All right. Let's have a look at the division. So the Anaconda Big Bream winner was Mitchell Taylor with the big fish of 1.18. Blake Partington, 1.04 on the Saturday, backs it up with 3.31. So I think biggest bag for the comp and took out Monster Mover. The divisions, Riley Whelan from Victoria, he's doing some traveling. He came through with the win for the youth with a total weight of 3.6. And the women's was Fiona Johnson at 1.9. Across into the Masters, we had Raymond Cooper from Victoria's at 3.52. And the first time competitors was Kevin Newen at 1.3. How good is that? I got to tell you, if you're out there and you're interested in fishing comps, this is a great way to do it. The kayaks is kind of a cheaper way in. You get to make all your own decisions and have a good time. And I got to tell you, to new people in particular, everyone's very welcoming. Anyway, if that's something you're looking into, there's a couple more rounds for the year. Not sure when this episode will be released, whether it's before or after Walliga. I think potentially after Walliga, but there'll still be a St. George's Basin round, and there's a one down at Burrell Lake as well, at least for the end of the year. So definitely something there for everyone. All right, let's get into the angler interviews. Here we go. Okay, so first up in third place, I've an angler dropping 3 fish on Saturday for 2.42. On the Sunday, he brought back his 3 fish weighing 2.14, which gave him a total of 6 fish for 4.56 kilos. And third place, I've got Mohamed Farage. Welcome to the show, mate.
Thanks for having me, Andrew. Appreciate it, mate.
Well, there you go, mate. I think I first met you under Como Bridge probably 2 years ago.
Yeah, on the Georges River comp?
Yeah, I think pre-fishing maybe.
Oh, yes, pre-fish. You're right.
Yeah.
I do remember that, actually.
Yeah, and I remember looking at your YouTube channel, I think Flick with Mick.
Yeah, I actually do remember that day now that you've said that. It was a pre-fish before George's a few weeks before, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And I think at that point, I'd caught good fish off Como. Not recently, but back then I had.
Yeah, it produces well at certain times, I guess, but you can't sit on a bridge all day as well, right? You've got to sort of move around.
No, that's right. That's right. And unfortunately, in the kayaks, you kind of got to make a decision. It's hard to go from one to the other to the other. You need to go and find one and back yourself.
Yeah, 100%, especially with like different pylons, different depths, like just switching through pylons and seeing other anglers around. You sort of got to just sit on one and sort of work it as best as you can.
Mm. How long you been chasing brim? How long you been a bit focused?
Chasing brim, look, I got into lure fishing probably when I first started my YouTube channel, actually. Beforehand, I was a bait fisherman. So, yeah, started chasing brim when I started land-based fishing with lures, I would say 5 years ago.
Okay.
And I sort of adapted to brim fishing because of probably the finesse gear that I was using, like light tackle gear, just flicking grubs from shore.
Mm.
Just sort of come to realization that brim fishing is probably a good hobby with the time that I had to sort of fish from day to day. And yeah, that's how I sort of developed my liking to brim fishing on lures.
Very good. All right, let's get round to the competition. So, mate, the Georges River, June 14, 15. Mate, in terms of pre-fish, did you get out and have a look around before leading into the competition?
Yeah, so I did have one Sunday, and it was actually an afternoon. I couldn't get out in the morning, and that was 2 weeks beforehand. I sort of had an idea of what I wanted to do, so I didn't want to do that on pre-fish. Obviously, heading upriver towards Como, fishing structure, bridges. So I didn't do that. I literally packed a couple of blades, and I thought, let's just fish with blades on pre-fish because I haven't really adapted to that sort of style of fishing. And I wanted to include a different technique come to the actual round. So yeah, I just fished a bit deeper with blades and I came up good. So I sort of worked the edge that I worked on the actual day. And yeah, I caught some fish. I didn't catch any big ones, but I was just satisfied that the blades did sort of work on that pre-fish. And that means I could adapt that to my structure fishing with crabs or whatnot, and that could be another inclusion as to how I'm going to catch my brim on both days.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And did you have a particular brand or type of blade that you zoned in on?
Yeah, it was the Ecogear VX40.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the colour's called. I don't know if you know, Andrew, but it's like a camo with the orange belly. I'm not sure. It's probably the most common one.
Yeah, it's a 439, I think.
Yeah, that's the code.
Yeah, I reckon.
Yeah, and a 40.
And a 40. Yeah, okay. Very cool. Very famous colour and a colour that was used a lot, say 10 years ago plus. So,
Oh, there you go. I usually tend to take feedback off tackle shop owners and what they sort of tell me and other anglers. And yeah, I sort of went with that colour. But I'm a pretty simple guy when it comes to colours. I don't really like to fish with colours that don't really look natural, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right, mate. Moving on to competition day. Tell us how your day went. You got 2.42, so it was a pretty decent bag. How'd you go?
Yeah, so it was quite a shock to me when we first launched. Some anglers went left and I went right towards upriver. And I think that tide worked in my favour, that 10:30 a.m. tide. So it made me sort of think I'm not going to rush down to the bridge. I've got a couple of hours to work my way down there.
Mm.
It's not too far. It's probably like a 15-minute, 20-minute paddle. So, yeah, I worked the right edge of the system heading upriver. The first bend to the right, I seen a few pontoons there. All the other anglers just kept going. And I thought, you know what, is it too early to stop here? Is it too close to the launch? Am I going to catch something? But my gut told me, just try it, just try to throw something at these pontoons on the edge there. I think it was around the 6 meters of depth, and then it sort of dropped off to 2 meters.
Yeah.
I was thinking, you know what, it's not too bad. It's a bit deeper. It's not a really shallow edge. So, yeah, Cranka Crab UV. I cast it at a pole in front of a pontoon, and it was a really bad cast. It was probably like half a metre off the pole.
Yeah, right.
Didn't think much of it, and 5 seconds later, that was the first cast of day one, actually. Yeah, 43 tipper. That was the big brim, yeah. And
Wow.
it came up in probably 10 seconds, man. Didn't even give me much of a fight. So I was like, I wasn't expecting it, you know. When he came up, I was like, what in the world is that? That's a big brim. And when I seen it, I was like, wow, that's probably the best start I could probably have coming into this comp for sure.
Yeah, that's crazy. What a great start.
Yeah, so that was the start, and then got a bit comfortable, was a bit excited as well at the same time. And I threw the crab at more pontoons, no luck. So plan A was to fish blades pretty deep. So I just moved on from there and just fished deeper edges, and actually worked as well. So I was fishing straight through 4 pound with blades with the Ecogear, and yeah, probably half an hour after, I landed numerous fish. It wasn't really a difficult bite in the morning for me personally. The blades were producing really well as to what I thought it would be based on the pre-fish. The other two fish, I sort of upgraded a few times, and I ended up at around 9 a.m. I ended up with probably two 700 grammers or 650, 700 grammers, and that big brim, which was 1.113.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so at 9 o'clock, 9:30 a.m., I had a good bag, and I sort of knew I did, but I'm not too good. I'm not too familiar with the weight of fish. I didn't have a scale on me, but I knew I had a decent bag, and I couldn't really manage to get an upgrade from them moving on forward. But I did have a few opportunities, that's for sure.
Yeah, right. Right. And did you fish blades for most of the rest of the day?
Oh, no. So moving on towards 10 a.m., I did head over to Como. I thought I was intending to probably get my upgrades at the bridge, I would say. That was like the plan B. So yeah, I headed down to Como, and I started fishing with cranker crabs just on the slack and the change of that top of the tide. Through the muss on straight through 4 pound, actually. I was sort of like a bit comfortable with the bag, so I was taking a few risks and whatnot. And I got a pretty big bite on that muss, and it was a big brim, man. I knew it was a brim the way it was fighting. I sort of had my doubts. I thought it could have been like a little soapy, but just the way it was fighting and the way it came up, it wasn't a trev. Like I just knew this was a brim, and it came up, and probably, I don't know, like a few seconds from the kayak, I just pulled hooks on the muss.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah, and I was thinking that fish probably would have got me to probably 2.7 or something. I don't know, in total, 2.7 kilos. And that's the one that sort of got away on day one for me.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
unfortunately. That was around the 11-ish moving forward from there. The last couple of hours sort of died off for me, and I didn't connect with any big ones, but I did manage to catch more brim, even off some moored boats as well.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, nothing that was going to give me an upgrade from what I had in the live well for day one.
Fair enough. Well, mate, 2.42, mate. That was one of the better bags of the day. I assume you're probably in third or fourth, maybe?
I think I was sitting at fifth.
Fifth overnight?
Yeah,
Yeah,
fifth,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right. What are you thinking about leading into Sunday? Do you go home and rig up and work your plan out?
Yeah, so look, I don't do many of these comps, and sitting at fifth in day one in my local, I was pretty stoked with that. So I did somewhat take, like, I had a lot of excitement, but at the same time, I thought to myself, I could really do this. So in my head, I wanted to do the same thing. I thought that would probably be the safest bet. Just do the same thing and replicate what I could do on day one. I knew it would be a lot harder day two fishing with the pressure on the water and whatnot. And yeah, so I just basically re-rigged and had a couple of crabs on and some blades and just went for it day two, pretty much.
Day two. All right. Tell us how day two started for you.
Yeah, it was a sort of another shock, actually. I had the exact same plan. I thought I'll stop over to those pontoons where I did manage to catch that big fish. And, watching everyone go past upriver, I'm just sitting there thinking again, like, am I stopping too early? I'm just around the corner from launch. But I didn't let that get the best of me. So I started casting at the pontoons again. And probably for like 5 minutes, I worked my way down the set of pontoons, and it just got more shallow as you go into the bay. And I realized I wasn't getting many opportunities here. So yeah, around 15 minutes in, I just turned around. I said, let's just stop fishing these pontoons for now. On my way out, there's one little moored boat sitting there, just sitting in just off the edge there. And I thought I'll give it a crack before we head over the Cranka Crab UV. And I casted at the actual moored block at the front of the boat.
Oh, yeah.
To start off with. Considering it's winter, I thought maybe that's where they're going to be. Got a bite, 26 tipper. I was like, okay, this isn't really going
Right.
the same way as day one, but I kept it. It was in the live well. And then I thought, you know what, I'll give it one more cast underneath that moored boat, right in the middle this time, and probably just let that crab sink underneath and probably find its way on the bottom. So I done that, dead sticked it for probably 5-10 seconds, and fish on. Biggest brim of the day again. It was actually a 43 tipper.
Wow. So 2 kicker each day.
Yeah, that was the second fish of the day, and basically the exact same size as the first. Probably a bit less. I think it was 1.08 kilos.
Yeah, right. Still great fish.
Yeah, when I seen it, I was like, wow, that's when it sort of hit me, because I didn't know if I could back it up, day two. Like when I caught that fish, I thought, you know what, it's getting serious. I may have a chance here for sure. So yeah.
100%. All right. What did you do then? That was a single boat, so it must have been time to move on, I'd imagine.
Yeah. So I just headed upriver with the blades again. Blades didn't actually work too well. So I sort of fished the same edges with blades, and I caught a couple of squeakers, nothing too serious. And I think I bagged another 28 tipper or so, put that in the live well, and I headed to the bridge a bit earlier this time. So in my mind, I thought, you know what, like I'm sort of halfway there to sort of probably finishing up in a top 10 or something. So let's just go to the bridge and probably just cast those big brim lures that everyone's sort of familiar with, like the master cranker crab, even the extra large crab. And I done so. I sort of worked my way down one of the pylons on Como, fishing the back of it, the front of it. It was a bit tougher this time around, and the current was still a bit stronger than usual. I was there a bit earlier, so it was around 9 a.m. And I ended up tying on a 1/8 weight to one of the crabs.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So I don't usually do that, and I thought maybe today's the day I should. I didn't want to cast a big crab. I just thought I'll stick with the little one, but just give it a bit more weight so it can just sort of sit in that spot that I wanted to sit in. And 40 tipper.
Right.
That was the third fish.
Wow.
So I ended up getting a good one on Como. That was an upgrade. So I ended up with a 43, a 40, and that 26.
And a squeaker.
Yeah, that 40 tipper got me revved up a bit. I was like, I got 2 good fish now. I done well day one, and I don't know where this puts me, but it's definitely, as much as I'm trying to calm myself down, I knew that I'm 1 fish away from probably ending up in a pretty good spot on the ladder at the end of day 2. So I just kept fishing, and I came off the bridge. I couldn't do it no more. I couldn't sit there. I worked my way to the right of the system. There were probably 8 boats to the right of me near Como, just some moored boats there, probably sitting in around 3 meters of water, and just casting the Cranka Crab UV. I upgraded that last fish to a 31 tipper. And after that, man, I just couldn't find any other upgrades. I did find fish again. I just could not upgrade that last fish, which was, around that 31 tip mark. And it was a skinny one too, so I wasn't really happy about it. And I knew I was 1 fish away, but that's fishing, and that was my bag at the end of it. And it was probably around, I would say, like 12:30-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I tried my best, and I just couldn't find that last good fish, unfortunately.
Yeah, wow. And when you're casting on those boats, were you pitching up into the hull, or you're targeting the mooring block, or how'd that look?
Yeah, so the first cast was a mooring block, and I was actually getting them on the hull more so the mooring block. I thought it'd be the other way around.
Mm.
But yeah, just the mooring block. But I'll just get it. So I'll be facing with the current, casting it, letting that crab sort of drift with the current underneath the boat.
Yeah.
That was my sort of intention with it.
Sure.
That's what was working, and I caught a few fish off the boats, and not too many big ones, just that first big one off the boat. But yeah, it was definitely a success. Like 2 years ago, placing fifth at George's, I really focused on the bridge, and I sort of caught all my fish at the bridge. And this time around, I did tell myself I want to have a few different variations of how I'm going to fish this. And I was pretty proud of myself that I did get them off pontoons, boats, bridges, deep edges. It was a good experience for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, mate, it's a great result. Great result. Very good. In terms of lines and leaders and what have you, so you ran a bit of 4 pound straight through. What else did you run?
Yeah, so I had 2 setups with 6 pound braid, both 7 foot, 2000 size reels with 6 pound leader.
Mm-hmm.
And that third setup was the 4 pound straight through on a 2000 size reel, and I think a 7.2 rod, 7.2 or 7.3 rod.
Sure.
Just a bit more soft tapered. And one of the other rods was a structure rod, around a 6.9. I like my 6.9, 6.10s, just a bit more shorter for structure fishing, and yeah, a bit more faster.
Yeah.
And the last rod was a 7 foot. So yeah, 6 pound, and 4 pound straight through. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else with regards to the fishing that we should go through?
No. I think that would probably wrap it up. That was my 2 days on the water. It was a bit chilly and couldn't feel my fingers at certain moments. You done it yourself, didn't you, Andrew?
That's right. Yeah. Look, it was chilly in the morning, and then in the afternoon it was pretty okay.
Yeah, I got a bit better. But yeah, covering everything, I'm pretty sure that was it for the 2 days, yeah.
The 2 days. Very good. Very good. All right. Well, look, it was enough to bring you back in third place and not far off second, and not far off first really either. So great result. Do you remember what you got to take home for third place?
As in prize? Yeah, it was $710, which is it's pretty good. Yeah,
Absolutely.
pretty happy with that.
Absolutely. I assume there was a sponsor's prize pack and badge and what have you?
Yeah, so there was a big bag of goodies. I think there was a voucher, Anaconda voucher, heaps of lures, a hat, some scent, some line, some hard body lures. Really good pack. So big raps to Hobie Australia for putting all that together, and the actual sponsors as well, like Anaconda. It's a pretty good pack, and it's a good give back for the anglers that have won it on podium, and just everyone that's signed up for this. It's been great, yeah.
Fantastic. All right, mate. Look, last thing before we shoot off, mate, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to?
Yeah, definitely. One person that sort of helped me get on the water from a few years back is James Kilpatrick, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people can vouch for him. He's the owner of Hunter Water Sports, so just a big shout out to James. In the fishing scene, he's well known and he's well respected, and he's a very genuine guy. He's really happy to help anyone. Yeah, just a big shout out to James, and also just anyone who sort of motivates me along the way through these sort of comp days, just like mates in general and family and friends. But in the actual sponsor scene and the fishing scene, that would be Hunter Water Sports.
Fantastic. And if people want to have a look at your YouTube channel, what do they got to look for?
Yeah, so you can just be searching Flick with Mick Fishing on YouTube, and that should bring me right up, hopefully.
That's right. And they can see your whole journey from beginning to where you are now, and new adventures coming this year.
That's it, yeah, from day one, flicking a lure, not realising I can catch fish on lures, to sort of different variations at this point of time. So, yeah, it's been a good journey.
Fantastic. All right, mate. Well, look, congratulations, and thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Andrew. I appreciate you having me on, mate. And thanks for that barbecue you done as well. That was awesome.
No worries, mate. I appreciate you saying that.
Cheers, mate.
Oh, thank you. Okay, everybody. So up next in second place, I have an angler dropping 3 fish on the Saturday for 2.57, backing it up on the Sunday with another 2 kilo bag at 2.18, giving him a total of 4.75 kilos and second place. I'd like to welcome back to the Brim Fishing Project, Jason Marshall. Welcome back, mate.
Thanks, Andrew.
Mate, another good result there, but we were talking just before we started, and mate, you off the back of a win on the Yak Hunters comp too.
Yeah, no, I did well on the Yak Hunters comp at Camden Haven this year, so that was a bit of a booster.
Absolutely. Good to take the win, mate. Were they on anything special up there?
No, it's just throwing shallow cranks, and that was pretty much it up there. Like, yeah, just fishing the shallows and the rocky reef a little bit up the creek.
Nice. You've excelled over the last couple of years in the Yak Hunters. There's been a lot of wins there.
Yeah, there has been a few.
Yeah, very good. All right, mate. Let's move on to the Hobies, mate. So we fished the Georges River. Now, it's a couple of months since we've done this, back in June 14 and 15. Mate, tell us, did you get a chance to have a pre-fish?
I did have a bit of a look around. It wasn't a big day on the water because I sort of had planned to do a fair bit of travelling over the weekend, so I sort of tried to save myself a little bit.
Save your legs?
Yeah.
Fair enough. But you did get a couple of fish on pre-fish?
Yeah, a couple of small fish, so yeah, nothing to sort of write home about, so which is not too bad on a pre-fish, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. All right, well, let's roll into the Saturday. You got a really good bag. Tell us what your plan was and then how your day panned out.
So plan was to fish the Cooks River again because it's been pretty good to me over the past couple of years at the Georges. I got to Captain Cook's Bridge and I thought, I'll just have a couple of casts around the first couple of pylons, which I don't normally do. I normally sort of get in my head, I just got to keep pedaling. But I did pull up because it always just looks too good to fish and managed to get about an 850 grammer.
Wow.
Pretty much straight away on second or third cast. And I thought, it's a good start. So then I sort of stayed there for about 10 minutes and fished a couple of pylons and I actually picked up a second fish. So I had 2 fish in a well sort of around that 8 o'clock mark.
Wow.
A little bit after 8 o'clock.
And good fish, or at least one of them.
And a couple of good fish, yeah. So then I thought, I'm going to the Cooks, I've got to move. So I decided to pack it up and head to the Cooks and got around the front and the wind was just, like the water was just chop and I actually thought that it was on the verge of being unsafe to sort of get up there and get back as the wind was going to pick up through the day.
Yeah.
So I actually decided to pull the pin on it.
Wow.
Which I sort of never do. Once I get a plan, I sort of usually stick to it.
Yeah.
But just that weather was just, yeah. So I come back to Captain Cook's and pretty much fished the whole bridge. And I got my third fish, which was only probably maybe a 27 tipper. Like, it wasn't a big fish, but that filled my bag. And then that sort of took the pressure off a bit and just potted around and kept fishing the bridge looking for that upgrade and then made my way into Sylvania, like fishing the boats and that on the way in, up into Sylvania. And caught a few more fish up in through there. Wasn't a great deal of fish, probably another 2 or 3 sort of squeakers. And then as I come back out, I got an upgrade on one of the boats, like pretty much out into the channel, like one of the boats fairly not in close. And that was about it. I sort of potted my way back up to Tom Ugly's and had a fish around there and sort of didn't really do any good. And, yeah, just sort of made my way back knowing that the Sunday weather was looking better for me to actually fish the Cooks. So I thought, I'll just save myself. In my mind, I had about that 2.5 kilo mark. So
yeah. But tell us, like, you started on the bridge. Like, what you throwing crabs or what were you throwing at it?
Yeah, throwing Cranka Crab's mussels. And then I did throw some deep cranks after I had got my bag, just trying to change it up a bit. But yeah, most of my fish come off the Cranka Crabs and a couple off the mussels, yeah.
Right, okay. Once you moved over to boat hulls, what do you use to target them?
I was throwing gulp crabbies and some of the Sprat 75s.
Okay. I was surprised by that. I actually thought you might have been someone who cranked the boats.
Yeah, no, look, I sort of like to, if it's right, like if the water's right, I like to sort of go fairly light and just let them gulp crabbies just do their thing, like just drift down slow and, yeah, wait for that tick in the line and load her up.
Away you go. And are you still running forward-facing sonar at the moment?
I've gone back I did have the Hummingbird. I was running Hummingbird there for a while, but I've gone back to the Lowrance. So.
Right, okay. And that with active target 2 then?
No.
Or just side scan?
Just side scan, yeah. Side scan, down scan.
Yeah, okay.
And traditional.
All right, mate. Well, 2.57 is a nice way to start a comp. Tell us about Sunday. What was your plan on Sunday and were you able to execute?
Sunday was straight to the cooks. I had like 2 or 3 casts at Tom Ugley's and Captain Cook, but yeah, I didn't sort of waste too much time there and just headed straight to the cooks because I thought, I not knowing that you get your bag up there, but it's always been good to me. So pedalled straight up there, which was 2 hours and it was about 2 hours 20 to get up there.
That's hard yards.
Yeah, so it's a long pedal. It does get boring and it's sort of mentally draining. But I did get up there and I was throwing Cranka Crabs again with a bit of scent on them and pretty much had my bag within probably 15 minutes up there. Like the fish, there's plenty of fish up there, but they're all the same size, all about that 600 gram mark.
Wow.
I managed to pluck one about 790, around that 800 again, and then just kept plucking away, just kept moving across and moving back on the one bridge and fished a couple of poles, which usually produce fairly well, but just didn't happen when I needed it to happen.
Yeah.
Just come back to the bridge. I must have caught, I'd only be guessing how many fish I caught, but I must have caught probably 15 or 18 fish up there in the 2 hours I was up there. Like it was just...
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Like, but they're all around that 600. Like I was weighing fish and upgrading fish like 20 grams, 30 grams, which is time consuming.
Mm.
But yeah, when I got that sort of 790, I thought, yeah, I just need another one of them. Like
that's right. That's exactly right.
But it just sort of, you'd hook that fish and you think, oh yeah, it doesn't feel too bad, but they come up and they're all, like I said, they're all about that same size. Just some were fatter than others, so you'd have to weigh it, like, because you just didn't know. So,
and was there like a standout between crabs and mussels?
No, most of my fish up there come off crabs. Like, I pretty much didn't pick the mussel rod up, like, because every time I threw the crab, like 2 or 3 casts, and you got another fish, and it's like there's no point putting it away. Like, I finish fishing the bridge and I come back and fish the wall because sometimes it can produce like kilo fish, like that one that you're really looking for, but it just didn't fire on the day. So I had set my alarm to pedal back and the alarm went off and I'm like, nah, just another 15 minutes.
Right, ouch.
And then I thought, nah, I've got to go, like, because I've got my bag, like I've got around that 2 kilo mark.
Yeah.
I don't want to be late. Sort of left it enough time that I could have a couple of casts at the bridges on the way back, just in case. But yeah, that didn't happen. But yeah, 2.18, happy with that. Happy with the result.
Yeah, absolutely decent. So that means you would have left the cooks When you left the Cooks, you've been paddling into the current.
Yeah, into the
down out of the Cooks.
Yeah.
Then across current, there would have been no current across the front.
No.
Not much
So,
anyway.
But bridge to bridge is...
back into the current.
It's absolutely crazy, like, because the pedal up there is not too bad because you're fresh, like, but you've done that 2 hours, sort of 15, 2 hours, 20 minutes, and then coming back, it's like 6 Ks or something across the front. I think about 6.5 or something. Yeah. And then you sort of start to feel it at that point, and then you get to the bridge, and it's like bridge to bridge. It just kills you. It's like, no.
That's right. It's like running a half marathon while you're fishing a comp.
Yeah.
Maybe walking a half marathon.
Yeah. So, but yeah, just got to leave yourself enough time, you know. Like, it is a gamble, and it's because you limit yourself to a couple of hours fishing. But like I said, it's paid off in the past, and
it was good. When you're up in the Cooks, did you come across anyone else that was trying to fish in your spots?
Nah, not this year.
I mean, not kayakers, I wouldn't have thought, but
I
thought you paddled all that way.
There's not many boaters up there. Like previous year, I don't know if it was last year, might have been the year before. On the Sunday, there was another 2 guys that paddled up there as well. Yeah, it's like I say, it's one of them things. You've just got to get in the right mindset, know that that's what you want to do, and just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. And you're in an Outback at the moment?
No, PA. So I brought the new XR.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't realise.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah. How good is that when you're fishing bridges and structure and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. Like, you can just position yourself wherever you need to be.
Yeah, perfect for that. All right, mate, I reckon that's a pretty good rundown of the fishing. Tell us, what did you get to take home for second place?
Second place, 1,090, and another bag of goodies from all the sponsors like Hurricane and, yeah, all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, it was good. I've got a few brown paper bags in the cupboard now.
How good is that, mate? And a lot of it's really good gear.
Yeah, no, it is. It's fantastic.
All right, very good, mate. All right, listen, last thing before we shoot off, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to?
Shout out to James, Hunter Motorsport, for the new yak that we just got.
Nice.
And he's always there, any dramas, like, service is good. Fishing.com, like, the turnaround service there is unbelievable. You can order it today and it'll be either here tomorrow or the next day. So, Hobie themselves for running a good show.
Very good. All right, mate. Well, look, mate, you're still on fire, I reckon. So, mate, congratulations on that. I'm sure we'll get to speak to you again soon.
Yeah, well, we'll do. I was looking like fishing, is it Walga Lake?
Walga? Yep.
Yeah. So it look like getting down there this year. We're gonna take the missus for a little holiday. So yeah, we've sort of planned it in at that time so that we can get down there and try and chase a few blacks.
Sounds like a wonderful plan, mate.
Yeah, yep.
I'll see you down there.
Yeah, will do. Thanks, Davey.
Thanks, mate. Okay, so to round out today's show, we've got an angler dropping 3 fish for 2.19 kilos on the Saturday, backing it up with a big bag on the Sunday of 3 fish for 2.72 kilos, giving him a total of 6 fish for 4.91. With me, I have Mitchell Taylor. Welcome to the show, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Mate, that is a great win. Like, these things are hard to win, and I think you've only been on the bream fishing tournament scene just a little while, and here we are.
Yeah. I really wanted to get my skills tuned up. Traditionally, I'm not a bream fisher. I've only been a bream fisher in the last couple of years. And, I thought I was pretty good at it. And then I started doing these Hobie comps and I realised I wasn't as good as I thought I was, and realised how good a lot of the blokes are that are consistently at the top.
Yeah, 100%. And so if brim's not your sort of native species that you've been chasing, what do you normally chase?
Well, I used to love chasing kingies, jews, snappers, my bread and butter. My absolute favourite, though, is bass. Like, I chase a lot of bass. Love going on adventures out in the wilderness, solo adventures, kayaking, whatever. Just as long as I'm by myself in nature, throwing top water lures for big buffs. Love it.
It's pretty good. But, mate, second child on the way, mate. What's the chances of that happening for a little while?
Look, my wife's a good sport, so I'm hoping I'm back on the tournament scene for some of these South Coast runs.
Yeah, there's a couple of good rounds coming up. So, yeah, it'd be good to see you down there. All right, let's get to the task at hand, mate. So, Georges River, tell us, this is one of your locals. Tell us, did you get out and pre-fish much?
Yeah, I did have a bit of a pre-fish. Like I pre-fished maybe I think it was 4 weeks prior, and I managed to find a pretty good spot really close to the boat ramp. And yeah, look, I fished it for a bit. It was like this random little structure, and I was pretty confident it was going to produce comp day. And yeah, sure enough, it did. So I didn't have to search for too much pre-fishing. And then the pre-fish before the actual comp, I fished the bridges and fished that spot once and got fish off both. And, I was pretty confident. So I left straight away.
Yeah. Once you on the day before comp, once you get a fish or two, for me, that's all I need. I might look around and look for stuff, but, you don't need to sting 20 fish.
Yeah, well, I may have accidentally caught 3 consecutive decent fish off the one pylon during pre-fish. And I was like, yeah, no, that's it. I have to go. There's no more fishing. As enjoyable and fun it is, just banging fish after fish. You just got to paddle away.
That's right. Well, you're not getting them on comp day if you catch them the day before. So
yeah.
Well, there you go. All right. Well, mate, tell us. You went out on the Saturday morning. Tell us how your day started.
Saturday morning, I had a plan. I'm usually pretty good at going away from my plan. So I really wanted to stick to my plan because I was pretty confident in what I was going to be doing. So, but my plan kind of was tide dependent. So I like to fish the structure and bridges that were in the main sort of channel when the tide starts to turn a bit slack, but still running a bit. So I think the high was at 9-ish, if I remember correctly. So my plan was just to take my time getting there and fish a few pontoons and structures and pylons along the way. And so I did that, and I actually first fish, I got on a crankbait on a rolling crank from under a wharf, and first fish was a solid high 30 tip fish, and I thought, okay, sweet, that's a good start. And then didn't get many other fish off the edges there or the pontoons or structures, so I kept paddling and took my time and finally made my way around the little wrecky structure that I found weeks prior. And then I started fishing that with the metal vibes, and I got a few fish off the metal vibes.
Okay. Was that the new ones?
Yeah, the new Doa metal vibes. Yeah, the in-feet metal vibes. They were really productive earlier on. And then the fish started to clue on a bit because I kept on getting fish off that same structure. And then I pulled out the Cranka crabs, the deep Cranka crabs, and I was dropping them over it. The tide was still running a bit, but I was, trying to mitigate that by casting way ahead and then paddling back and bouncing it over that structure. And you wouldn't know you're hooked up until you wind up the slack. But it was funny, the Cranka crabs, they seem to keep producing. So, maybe that natural presentation didn't shut them down. They just kept on eating them. So, yeah, kept on catching fish and upgrading fish there. Wasn't getting any monsters off that. And then I got a decent one off a cranker, maybe, 6-7 fish in. And yeah, got a really solid one there. And then I had a half decent third fish. I thought, okay, I'm doing all right. And then I thought so then once the tide started to slow down a bit, I went over to the bridges. There was a whole bunch of other guys fishing the bridges, but I went straight onto a pylon after someone else moved off it. Bang, fish. Just with the Cranka crab, just bouncing it off the edge of it. And then same pylon again, bang, another fish. And the bite window was just on the end of the running tide. And then it slowed down a bit for the complete slack tide. But then as it turned a little bit and started to run out, then it started to fire. And that's when the guys in the Hobie boat were there just filming me catch one after another. It was just, literally every pylon I was catching like 4 or 5 fish off each pylon consecutively. So, just using cranky crabs. So, and I upgraded so many times. So, it was really productive there at the bridges.
That's very cool. So, but if you're using a crab and you approach a pylon, what are you trying to achieve with your cast?
Okay, so, well, because it's in the main channel, there's tide running. You can't just cast it where you want it to go because it's just the tide's just going to take it away. So you've got to mitigate that. And it's always risky, it's very snaggy. So you want to get cast up current and using a heavy enough cranky crab. Sometimes I even add weights to the belly of it, to get it down quicker. But you want to try and cast ahead of it and to give it time to land exactly where you want it. So it's all about, it's a kind of guessing game, but it's an educated guess of where that crab is going to come down next to that pylon. So that's the idea, is just getting it up ahead and then bringing it down where you want it.
Yeah, and my experience of the bridges in the Georges in particular, the current doesn't always hit them square on. They often run a little bit side to side.
It goes on an angle.
Yeah, and you've got to account for that. And then other times, what's happening on the top is not what's happening underneath.
Yeah.
Like you cast it out and you go, that went under, but the water is running parallel to the pylon. So
yeah, I found on comp day it was running on quite an angle. So look, I was getting him off the back edge of where that was angling. So I was casting out kind of like in the middle of the open, away from the pylons, because the current was bringing it back towards the pylons, and that seemed to be working. So, but I was marking the fish on the side scan, and they was sitting pretty in tight in between the two pylons of the bridge there. So I pretty much focused on just that bridge and not the one with the big concrete block. Although I did catch one off that, but those pylons, the fish were just sitting in between the pylons, I found.
Yeah, right. And what electronics have you got on?
I've just got a Lowrance Elite FS9 or whatever it is. Yeah, so it's pretty user-friendly sound. I'm big enough to get a good view. Side scan, I'm very good at reading. It's something I've trained myself in over the years, chasing kingies in the harbour and whatnot.
Yeah, right. All right. So you've basically gone down and fished a bit of structure, head to the bridges, done quite well and upgraded a lot based on what you've said. Did you drop any fish, or was there anything you wish you could change?
Well, there was one fish that died on me, which was never a good, and it was a really good fish too. It was a solid fish. And, it's never a good thing, a fish dying. You try to do your best to look after the fish. But because I was fishing deep, I think it had a bit of barotrauma because it was sitting up on the surface of the live well for quite some time. And then the whole time I was hoping it was going to hang in there, but it didn't. And, I had to get rid of the fish. And then luckily, it might have been like 3 casts after I let go of the fish, I got one pretty much the same size. And I was just like, wow, that's pretty lucky. So
I must admit, in the sort of 15 years or so that I've been doing it, I've had one fish die and then another comp where all the fish weren't great. But that's a lot of comps for not many.
Yeah. I've never really had many issues with the brim. They're usually pretty good with the barotrauma. But, look, I think this one just wasn't good from the start. And, unfortunately.
Definitely. All right. Well, look, you headed back in with 2.19. Whereabouts were you overnight?
I was sitting at, I think, 7th.
7th. Yeah, I was going to say there's a few in front.
Yeah, I was sitting at 7th. There was a few good bags on day one. I wasn't sure where I was going to be sitting after day one. The Georges can be one of those places where you can just get monster bags, which you saw that on day 2.
Yeah. We saw Blake. Yeah, bounced right up the scoreboard. So.
Yeah, he got a monster bag. So, that was pretty cool. So, I pretty much going into day 2, I had the same sort of plan. I was hoping to do the same sort of thing and following that tide. But, I didn't fish the bridges as much on day 2. I gave it a little bit of a try. but the bridges seemed to be shut down on the second day. So
Sure. Okay, so how'd you target the fish then?
So same sort of thing. So I took my time. Instead of going to the edge of wharfs and stuff that I fished along the way on day one, I went downstream. I went around the Big Bend and then I went straight across to the other side, sort of towards Sylvania Marina side, but upstream a little bit along that edge there. And there's a few houses and wharfs on the deeper side there. And yeah, there's a few good pylons. I've got fish off there in the past, and I've just chucked a cranker crab on a pylon, and bang, first fish was a proper one, and I was like, wow, yeah, okay, hey, that's a great start, especially when I'm just kind of taking my time to get to the spot I actually want to fish. So it was good to get that as my first fish, and then I took my time and fished a couple little structures on the way up to the main structure that are in the deep. Then I got to that spot and same thing, fished it the same, fished it with the vibes again, got a couple of fish with the vibes, got my bag, completed it. It wasn't a solid bag. It was half decent with the first few fish that I got off there. And then the vibes went a bit quiet, so I pulled out the cranky crabs again and then bounced the crankers along the bottom. And sure enough, I think it was, wasn't far into using the crabs, and I pulled up an absolute monster, which ended up being the Big Bream. So
Right, that 1.18.
yeah. So this little structure is like a hump. It looks like a settled wreck in between a whole bunch of moorings. And, I found it on the side scan several weeks prior. And, yeah, there just seemed to be fish just hanging on it, and they just kept on eating and eating and eating. So there was a whole bunch of fish down there. And then I was trying to upgrade the third fish, and I upgraded it like maybe 4 times, but they were pretty fat fish too. So after I got the big one, I was like, I think I'm over 2 kilos already just with the big one with 2 fish. And so, yeah, and then I got another one and I thought, okay, yeah, I'm really bad at guessing weights. I didn't have scales and I was hoping, I'm like, wait, am I over 2 kilos? And I started second guessing myself because I didn't stuff around with looking after the fish. After losing a fish on day one, I put them straight in the live well, didn't look at them that much, straight in the live well. And then upgraded a few more times there. And yeah, I felt pretty confident. I tried fishing the bridges after that, after the tide went slack. It was pretty crappy there. It was shut down. I got a couple of fish off there, but it was pretty shut down otherwise. So I turned my focus away from there and just took my time going in. And yeah, I wasn't sure where I was going to end up. And people were asking me, oh, how'd you go? I'm thinking, I think I've got 2 kilos.
Yeah, right. A little bit better than that, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I didn't want to go, yeah, I'm over 2 kilos. And
yeah, okay. Tell us about your side scan. Like finding a wreck and bottom structure on side scan, the new Laurent stuff is actually pretty simple now. But how do you go about spotting fish?
So I usually try and find the structure first, and then not only do I run side scan, so I've got side scan going from side to side of the screen, getting the full width. Then I've got sonar below that, just in one corner, just your traditional sonar, and then I've got maps in one corner. So I utilize all 3 to pinpoint where the fish are hanging. So I'll mark the structure with the side scan. And the beauty of the side scan is you can mark a structure, say 15, 20 meters to your right of you, right? And you press the screen where that structure is and press waypoint, and it marks exactly where that structure is. So then you go over on your maps and then zoom in on your maps and go directly over that mark. And then you look at it on the sonar, and then you can start looking for your arches and find where the edges of those structures are. And if it's a good wreck or structure, I like to go over it a few times and plot a few marks and find the edges of it. And usually the fish are hanging off the edges of these structures, sometimes on top. But yeah, the more you go over it, the more you get the idea of what that structure is and where the fish are.
Right. And did you leave many lures on the bottom?
No, surprisingly, I didn't lose any lures on that spot. I lost a couple at the bridge. So I didn't lose that many lures at all during the whole comp. I was actually really surprised because usually when I put a cranky crab on, I cast and I lose it first cast.
Yeah. I hate that. I don't mind losing them when they're caught a few, but when they don't, that sucks.
Yeah, there was one crab that literally lasted me 2 days and caught majority of the fish. So I was pretty happy with that result.
Yeah, no, that's very good. Very good. All right. In terms of rods and reels and lines and stuff, what are you running?
I run the entry-level in-feeds mostly. They're such good quality rods for the price point. I'm really rough with my gear. I used to get all high-end gear, and I still, I got the odd decent rod and whatnot, but the in-feed S range, they're phenomenal for the price range, and they work really well for me. They've got all the different models for different aspects. So one of them was it's an ultralight, I think, regular taper, and I think it's a 742, and that's really good for my metal vibes and stuff. And so you don't barely have to work them, and you get a really nice vibration out of it. So I was using that paired with just like a 1000 Caudia. I like using the light reels if I'm fishing all day. Some guys like the bigger reels for the cranking power and stuff like that, but I've never had an issue with getting a brim in with the small reels. So
yeah, mate, a couple of years ago, they hadn't had 1000s for a while. I remember they bought the Caldias and I bought 2 of them. They're awesome.
Yeah, I love mine. So a little 1000 one, it's a beast. I've had it for ages and keeps going and going and going. So had it serviced once and it's still silky smooth. And just running Daiwa J-Braid Expedition 8-pound, and I was just running 6-pound J-Thread X-Link fluoro. That X-Link fluoro's been really good for me. It's a softer fluoro, which I really like. It's really good for tying knots, and it's good stretching, and it's quite good for abrasion.
Yeah, sure. And 4 or 6, or what were you running?
Yeah, I was running 6-pound.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so a little bit.
Yeah. So on day 2, I was running 8-pound around the bridges just because I had a couple of close calls, and so never had an issue with the 8 either. So around the structures there. So the other one that I really like for casting in all the structures is my Commander. So I've got a Snowfinch Commander. I think it's like a 2 to 4 kilo. That's more of a faster taper, and that's really good for fishing the crabs in close to the structure and getting in low and under the undercast and whatnot. Yeah, I like fishing short rods around the structures. So that were pretty much the 2 rods that I used most of the time. And yeah, I had that match with a 2000 Teddy Black with 8-pound J-Braid Expedition and 6-pound to 8-pound between both days.
Very cool. All right. I reckon that's a pretty good rundown of the fishing. Tell us, mate, what did you get to take home for first place?
I think it was like $2,100. Yeah, which is a nice little payday. And then I was like an extra $250 for the Big Bream.
That's right, from Anaconda.
Yep. Yeah. And then I found out the other day in the prize pack there was a whole bunch of Anaconda vouchers as well that were unlabeled, undisclosed pricing on it. Which I went in there and they were all $50 vouchers, so it worked out. So it was another like $350 just in vouchers or something.
Wow! So you went into the new store down the road?
Yeah, I went into the new store, had a look, checked it out, took my daughter in there. Yeah,
that is awesome. All right, mate. I reckon that's a pretty good rundown of everything, mate. Last thing before we shoot off, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to?
Yeah, I just want to shout out to Daiwa, for sort of supporting me and whatnot. And those guys are always very passionate about what they do. They're always bringing out new products and really innovating products as well. So it's really cool to be a part of that growth and trying out new products. Yeah, it's great. Those guys are great. They've supported me. I'm happy to support them. They're a great brand, great family brand.
Yeah, very good. Very good. All right, mate, that's fantastic. Look, congratulations on your first win, and I'm sure we'll be speaking again soon.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Okay, so there you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. This was a comp that I fished, and it was an interesting one. I ended up upriver, and I saw a bunch of guys fishing a point, and they're all on top of each other, which just made no sense to me. Anyway, turns out those guys were braining it, and I was the one that was not really understanding. And to prove a point, I went back a couple of days later, I think on the Wednesday, and was able to pull out a fish of, I think, maybe 38 fork. I can't remember exactly how big it was, but it was a pretty decent one. But anyway, joke was on me. All right. Listen, if you want to hear these episodes a little bit earlier, then definitely jump over to the collective. This episode in particular will definitely be out at least 3 to 4 weeks before it's aired publicly. And if that's you, we'll definitely jump over there. brimfishingproject.supercast.com. We've got a heap going on. We'd love to have you along. All right, that's all I've got for you this week. Thanks for tuning in, and I will talk to you next week on the Brim Fishing Project.
Thanks for listening. Hopefully you were informed, inspired, and entertained. If you were able to learn something or just enjoyed listening, please consider subscribing and rate us on your favourite podcasting platform.